Welcome back to the Wise and the Curious podcast where the prudent meets the eager. Thanks, guys, for supporting the podcast. I sincerely appreciate it. I really don't know what to say for all the kind words, feedback, and for always checking our social media accounts: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and Anchor. Today's episode is compelling as we'll be talking about change. So let's get this rolling. Have you ever noticed a change in someone you know? Behavioral, lifestyle, perspective, looks, where it feels like they're a completely different person? Did you get curious why they change? Or are you planning to make some changes as well for yourself? If yes, what do you do to change yourself for the better? And the $1 million question is, why do people change after all? Empathetic, hardworking, kind hearted, and an open minded person. The floor is yours, Ina Isabela Costibolo.
Hi everyone. Thanks for having me here on The Wise and the Curious. Anyway, thank you for that very kind introduction. Yes, good evening everyone. My name is Ina. It was my boyfriend who recommended to Jella that I guest here tonight. I'm guessing he's probably tired of hearing me blabber because he's looking for a different outlet for me to share my story. But yeah, before anything else, again, my name is Ina. I'm in my mid 20s. I was born in Cebu, but I was raised in Tacloban, Leyte. I'm not sure if the listeners know where that is, but it was where the Yolanda, the super typhoon, hit back in 2013. I was raised in Tacloban, and then I'm currently residing in Metro Manila. And who knows where I'll be the next few years.
That's so far. How come that you ended up living here in Manila? Yeah.
I think it's mainly because of education. It's really hard to find a school. I really wanted to be an aquarial scientist. And unfortunately, there weren't schools in our area that offered BS Math. And I wanted to take BS Math. So I applied for the different schools here in Manila. And I got accepted. So I started studying here. And then in 2013, or 2012, yeah, it was 2012 when my family decided to move here because back in Leyte, they were already experiencing many earthquakes and there were tsunami threats. So my parents decided to move here for good since they thought that it would be safer compared to if we stayed there. But true enough, yeah, if we hadn't decided to move here, we probably would have experienced the typhoon itself. Actually, we were there a week before the typhoon hit. We gathered our belongings and we brought them with us here. I actually consider this to be my second life.
It's a blessing that you weren't able to
Yeah.
experience it firsthand.
Yeah. I really don't know how I would have survived that because our house is
Mhm.
near the ocean. So the family who rented our place was actually already in the ceiling. They were staying in the ceiling just to survive. So really, I'm super blessed that we didn't get to experience that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it did not do any harm to the people who are renting your place during the time.
Yeah, fortunately, they survived. The flooding subsided when they were already staying at the roof. Some of our neighbors actually didn't make it. That's why it's really kind of sad when we go home to our
Yeah.
neighborhood and remember
And I
our.
think some areas were washed out as well because of the typhoon.
Yeah, as
Oh
in
my god.
completely start from scratch. Others had to start from scratch. But today there's so much has changed. Like there's so many businesses. It's actually really different from the situation before the typhoon came in. It's much better now.
And that's an example of change. Because,
Yes.
yeah. But before we go to the highlight of the story, I want to know you more. You're studying MBA just like Kyle.
Yes, but hopefully we're if we pass the exam that we just took, hopefully we're gonna graduate soon. We actually hibernated from social media because we're waiting for the results. Like we don't want
Yeah.
to celebrate yet because some of our classmates are actually celebrating, but Kyle and I we decided to keep it low for
Yeah.
now.
Prior to the changes that we're about to discuss or you're about to share, who was Ina Isabela?
Actually, I'm the same person. Like I've actually studied myself for the past few years because I felt like I was losing myself. When I wanted to change, I felt like, huh, I might be losing myself. But then I realized that it's the same me. I'm the same passionate person, but my priorities just changed. So just to give a background, I I actually graduated a bit younger compared to my peers. Like my first job offer was when I was 19. It was
Wow.
my 19th birthday when I signed my job offer. So I kind of had this mindset that, I'm still young, so maybe I can enjoy my early years of working. So um I was living a YOLO kind of mindset. So
Sort of happy-go-lucky.
yes, that was actually, yeah. I'll get to that later, but yeah, I got that feedback that people saw me as a happy-go-lucky person. Like they would see me as this. They feel like I don't have problems because when they see my social media, right now I'm in Korea, and then the few months later I'm in Japan, or like they saw me as this person who was traveling, watching concerts. Like I was spending my first few years of salaries, let's say, I was really, really carefree
Yeah.
back in the day. Like my friends used to joke me around and told me that, are you living in Korea? Because they feel like they feel like every now and then I'm there. And they actually call Philippines my probinsya, or like my province, because they feel like I'm a resident of Korea. Because I was a fan. Like I was super into their culture. Just not just the music, not just the dramas. Like I was really into their culture. I actually tried to learn their language. I was that passionate about Korean culture. But yeah, that basically sums up my life before. So I was into traveling, watching concerts. I was into partying as well. Like I used to, even if it wasn't a Friday, you'd find me at early night at Nectar. I was just there in that area.
Wow, that's
I
a
was
cool life.
yeah, sometimes I kind of reflect on that that situation or that phase in my life. Yeah, but have you been there? Have you tried partying, or you don't like
Well, this is
partying?
crazy. The first and last time that I went clubbing was when the company held a party in, what do you call that place? House Manila. I'm not into partying.
Mm.
I'm kind of introverted in nature. Maybe people
Mm.
won't believe it because I'm doing the podcast, but really, that's me. Most of the time, I really enjoy, being alone, reading books. I don't know, doing some workout. But most of the time, I really choose to be alone. So
It's actually nice. I actually enjoy being alone as well, because like you have these thoughts. Like you
yeah,
don't have these thoughts only come when you're alone.
you get this creative juices when you're alone, when you're doing your own stuff, when there's no one around you. Yeah.
Yeah, because when you're with other people, you tend to think a lot about other things. You
Yeah.
don't focus really on yourself, so you can't really reflect much.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly. And what was the reason or what made you realize that you have to change? Because you've mentioned earlier that you were so happy that you're enjoying your life because you're really into Korean culture. You're going there from time to time, and I can feel that you're happy with that, with those experiences. But what made you realize that you have to change?
It was actually a sum of things. Like there wasn't just one moment that I've decided to. "Ah, I'm not happy with my current situation." Actually, I was happy, but I think I'll just mention a few instances that come to mind when you ask me why I changed. So one of those is one of my relatives told me that, we it's nice to see you enjoy life. We feel like you have no problems. It's like you don't think of the future. You're just enjoying the now. So that kind of made me reflect. That's true. I'm really not thinking about my future. And there's also there came a time when I saw the people who were the same age as me. So they were people who were younger. I mean, they were in lower batches. So I saw them becoming doctors, they're becoming lawyers. So really, like, I saw a lot of people on my timeline getting their degrees, their masters or whatnot. They're achieving so much in life. So I thought to myself, I think I kinda enjoyed my early or like my advanced years more than I should have.
Yeah.
So that's when I started to think of my future. Like, I kind of realized, or I kind of started to reflect on what I wanted to do 5 years from now, 10 years from now, because I can't imagine myself still doing the same things. Like, I can't imagine myself drinking until 2 a.m. or sometimes 6 a.m. when I'm already 35, because I don't think my body can can go that much longer. So that's when I started to reflect, really, in terms of my career, in terms of my finances, my health. So yeah, it's really a summation of things that made me want to improve myself. So that's when I signed up for a gym membership.
Wow.
I because that's actually one of the things that motivate me. I like to buy something first that will motivate me to do the thing that I want, because I already spent money on that. So
You already invested something
yeah.
and you want an ROI.
Yes, exactly. So that's one way to motivate myself. So I started to spend on things that would make me better, not just for short-term happiness. Because really, my focus back then was short-lived happiness. Like, okay, my I buy plane tickets to Korea, and then I enjoy my experience there. And then when I go home, I look at the photos. But 10 years from now, will I still get the same marginal utility from that experience? I think, like, that kind of experience, the marginal utility just decreases over
Yeah,
time.
as time goes by. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I wanted to spend money on things that will offer me greater value in the long term.
Those changes that you've mentioned, were those personal decision or you're just forced to change or it's a mix?
They were triggered by external forces, but when I reflected on them, like, I realized that they were also for me. So that's what made me want to change. Because, like, like, when you have this friend who has a who's in a toxic relationship, and then they keep coming to you to ask for advice, and then you give them advice, but then they don't listen. I feel like we all have that one friend, or like in one time of our life, we were that friend. I feel like you can only change when you want it for yourself. Because yeah, that's one thing that I realized, that for you to change successfully, you need to want it for yourself, not to please other people. Because I don't think you'll be able to do what you want, or like to achieve what you want to achieve, when you peg it on something that can change also. Like, I realized this when, because growing up I was a people pleaser. So I tried to do things that I felt like people would recognize me for, or like would appreciate me more if I did those things. But then I realized, after doing those things, they still weren't happy with me. It made me reflect on, why did I do that change in the first place, when I didn't want it for myself? I was doing it for other people. So I kind of have regrets, because I pegged what I wanted on what on other people wanted for me.
You cannot control what other people would say, what other people think about you, what other people would want for you. But at the end of the day, it's your decision if you're gonna listen to them and do whatever they want, or you're gonna listen and consider their thoughts. But at the end of the day, you're gonna make whatever you want in your life. Could you remember a scenario wherein someone wanted you to change, but you chose not to?
I can actually remember. Well, this is part of me changing my old mindset of being a people pleaser. So just like the past few years, I actually started a new job, and I realized that I didn't fit into the team's culture. So it was difficult, because they were asking me not to be who I am. Like, they wanted me to be cold to other stakeholders, because I'm part of a control unit, and usually when you're part of a control unit, you're like this strict, or like you need people to fear you so they can respect you, and then they'll follow your orders, or something of that sort. So they want me to be like them so I can do my job better. So when they wanted to assign me to a certain team, one of my teammates told me, huh, you're too kind, they'll eat you alive. So I thought to myself, why should I change myself for this job? So I actually ended up moving to a different team because I really didn't fit into that culture. So that's one of the things that I really didn't want to change about myself, like sacrificing who I am for a job when I know that I can be productive somewhere else with my personality. I actually read somewhere, I think it was Keanu Reeves who said, I don't want to live in a world where kindness is seen as a weakness. Yeah, that's what triggered me to move to a different team. Na, why do you have to see kindness as a weakness? You know, kindness can really go a long way. You can be firm and kind at the same time. So
I really admire you for, not sacrificing who you are and your culture, your mentality, what do you call this, the characters that you have just for the job. But how does it make you feel? Did you regret it?
personally, I don't regret the experience because I learned a lot from that experience. Like there's so much like about the industry that I know now. It was mainly because of that job. And my roles there actually helps me with my new job. So it's nice. I don't really condemn that experience in my life, but um, I feel much better now seeing that my departure from that team has helped not just me but also that team because I wasn't the only one who left. I was actually one of the first of the many that left because I had teammates who weren't as I mean they were scared to go against the what was happening inside the team. So I had a friend of mine who followed suit when I left. So and I see that she's much happier now because that actually caused her mental health. So it's nice that um I don't regret that I left because I encourage also others to do what they want or to escape from that toxic environment. It's one important phase in my life. Like I think of it as a stepping stone to somewhere. So I don't really regret it. It is a favorite lines ko from my professor in school. She told us that exiting does not always mean failure. Sometimes it's really a mismatch. So you don't have to question yourself or like blame yourself for exiting or like extracting yourself from a situation.
Yeah, I agree. Because many people tend to think that if they leave the job, it's a failure. But the thing is, maybe it's not just for you, or the timing is not right, or really, yeah, as you've mentioned, there's a mismatch. Because I do have a lot of friends that they're really afraid of leaving, even though the environment is already toxic, because they're thinking that it's going to impact their resume. It's going to impact how people think of their character. It's going to impact how professional they are. There's just a reason behind why you need to exit that kind of environment or situation. Wow, I'm learning. I don't know who's that professor, but yeah.
That
Okay.
really struck me. That really struck me because I think we Filipinos glorify resiliency too much. So
Yeah.
it's nice that there's a different perspective that's being presented at the table. That quitting is not a sign of weakness, but it's actually a strength when you know when to quit. I hope that people don't judge one's resume right away. I hope they ask questions and understand more where people are coming from.
Let's go deeper. Let's dissect things. Like, for example, could you cite some situations or experiences wherein you could say that there was really a change? For example, your finances, your health, your outlook in life.
The core concept of why I changed was that I was too focused on short term benefits. So from there, I wanted to think further or like think longer term. So that means I thought about kind of lifestyle I wanted for myself years from now, whether I wanted a family. Because at that time, I was just focused on being single. I enjoyed being single. I loved being single. But then I, but then I met someone, and then I realized, oh, it's possible that I might have to start my own family someday. So that's when I realized that I really had to prepare for my future. So financially, I had to, of course, I had to cut on my trips, on the concerts I went to. I stopped shopping for myself, or like I was more prudent
Yeah.
when I buy stuff. Like I always have this. Well, this was actually from I got this from my partner. When I buy something, he always asks me, "Do you want it or do you need it?" Because if you just want it, are you sure that you still want it like a few months from now, or is that just an impulse buy? So it was really difficult for me because I had to every time I wanted to do something, I had to pause and then is this aligned with what I want with
Yeah.
my with my long-term goal? So yeah, that's one for financial. So I started focusing on long term. So of course I started investing also. I explored trading. When the stock market hit last year, I opened an account to be able to trade and buy stocks. And I also learned about time deposits. I actually had a VUL like years before, but I thought that wasn't enough for an investment. But then I realized I don't think that would be enough if I wanted to start a family someday. Like knowing the expenses here in Manila, it's really I can't with a level of salary here in
Yeah.
Manila and the expense. I don't think I can start a family with that. So I really had to work harder or like to find other opportunities that would be able to help me achieve that long-term goal. So that's one for financial. And then of course, in terms of health, if I wanted to stay alive for a longer time, I watched, I'm not sure, you know, this. Are you into K dramas or no?
Not really.
Okay. When there's
I,
this K drama, it's called My Hometown Cha Cha Cha. And
Mhm.
then there's this one line that struck me. The female lead told the male lead that you know that the best thing that a parent can do for their child is to stay healthy and live a long life. So, that really struck me deep. Like that's actually true because as parents, I think they tend to be selfless. Like they want to sacrifice on their health for the sake of their children, but really children what we want from our parents is that they live a long life. We want them to take care of themselves as well so we can spend more time with them. With so that kind of relates to what I to my long-term goal, knowing that if I want to have a family, of course I want to spend a long time with my children, so I really need to stay healthy for my loved ones. So that's when I started to work out, to run, to bike. I just explored everything that out there. Like I tried yoga as well, any high intensity training. So yeah, that's how I changed my health to be able to achieve my goal of living a long life. And aside from the physical health, I also realized that my perspectives, like the way I saw myself, was actually not healthy in terms of mental health because I realized that I stress myself a lot. Like I'm so hard on myself. Like as a person, that's actually one thing that's hard when you change because like you're confused whether you like who you or like do you love yourself now or not. That's why you want to change. Like I was so lost because I felt like I was changed. I didn't like who I am. That's why I want to change. But really, when you want to change for the better, it's because you love yourself. You love yourself enough to want to change. So that's one of the perspectives that I had to instill in me that you want to change not because you're a bad person, but because you love yourself to be a better person for the people who love you as well. So yeah, that's actually the hardest to change, the subconscious. There's a perfect example of the conscious and the subconscious like trying to battle each other. Like for example, consciously you want to find a partner, like you want to fall in love, but your subconscious tells you that falling in love means you're gonna get hurt. You put yourself out there, you try to meet other guys, but when you finally meet someone who you feel can be your potential partner, you actually try to build wall, like you want to build a wall, and then you're subconsciously pushing him away. So there's that factor of the subconscious that you really need to get over to be able to change, or like to be able to achieve what your conscious mind wants to achieve. So
And speaking
yeah.
of that, I actually read a book. I'm not sure though who's the author, but I think it's Robert Greene. I'm trying to remember, but I think it's The Law of Human Nature. So you really have to know yourself before you decide to make some changes about yourself, because it will not be successful if you really don't know who you are. You cannot just apply the changes if you don't know why are you doing this and what could happen to you after you implement those changes. That's a good read. But yeah, going back to the changes that happened to you. So you've mentioned financially, health, and the perspective. Do you have something more to add about the outlook, the change in your life?
In terms of perspective, I really, how do I say this? I really looked at myself negatively before because, as mentioned, I was a people pleaser. So when people were dissatisfied with me, I was dissatisfied with myself as well. So I really had a low self-esteem. And then I realized this when I was reading a book about self-esteem. An example there was that how do you ask a person with low self-esteem to screw a light bulb? And this person with low self-esteem will get back to you saying, "How do you want me to screw this light bulb? Do you want it counterclockwise, clockwise, or
So
like
it's kind of
something?"
dependent to what other people would say.
Yes, yes. So that's when I realized that, oh, I really do have low self-esteem, because like there are simple things that can be done, but I feel like I need constant affirmation, like am I doing the right thing? So I really realized that I have this low self-esteem. So I realized that in order for me to achieve my goal of long-term goal of having a family that has financial freedom, or like a healthy family, I also had to change the way I saw myself, because for the longest time I've been seeing myself the way others see me, or like how, or the way I thought others saw me. So I really had to reflect and yeah, it's related to what you said earlier, that you really need to know yourself before wanting to change, or like before starting to change, because you don't know where to start. Like, what do I change if I don't know who I am? So that's really one of the most important thing that I changed first, my perspective of how I saw myself. So I stopped deprecating myself, because it actually took a toll on me. I believed that.
And how was the journey implementing those changes? I mean, for sure, it's not easy.
I think one of the reminders that gave me hope was that I saw this. I don't know where I saw this, but there's this saying that goes, change is not linear. Like, it's not, you can be on a high at this one point, and then you can go low again, and then you can get high again. But it's really just a summation of the ups and downs. So whenever I was backsliding, or whenever I felt that I wasn't doing better, I kept reminding myself that just because you're not doing well today doesn't mean that you're not doing a good job at all. I mean, change is not like, it doesn't happen overnight. So you really need to get to know your why. So when you're at your lows, you're reminded of why you're doing this in the first place, and then that's gonna help you want to get back up and then work towards that goal. And it also helps to have people, or like when to surround yourself with people who encourage you and who are aware of your goal, and they're gonna help you reach that goal, and that we're not alone. And another reminder is that change is expensive. Like, along the way, it's gonna cost you friends, it's gonna cost you money. Like, so yeah, you need to, I think the word itself changed, but it's like in Tagalog, it's sukle. So you need to pay first to get something in return. It's a good reminder that when you feel like you're losing something, I think it's nice to be reminded that eventually you'll gain something as well. So it's one of the philosophies that I'm trying to instill whenever I'm going through this change.
But yeah, that's right. That's right. That it's actually expensive. And the next thing is it's gonna cost you time because when you're changing, as it's not gonna happen overnight. Yeah, that's really 100% right. It will take you like months, years. But the thing is, it's gonna cost you time. So whenever you want to change something, expect that you really have to take time to make time for that change to happen. And I do have one question for you. Imagine that there is a time machine in front of you. Would you use it? Are there other things that you would like to change? Yes, no, or and why?
That's a difficult question.
That's for
but
Miss
to be
Universe 2020.
but to be honest, there isn't a thing that I would want to change because I'm happy where I am now, and I feel like everything that has happened before, good and bad, they've all catapulted me to where I am now. So I actually don't want to change anything from the past. Like, actually reflected on this before. Like, what if I turn back the time and I invested as early as, I mean, like, if my first salary, I could have saved it, or like for all those years I could have not traveled. But I realized that I don't regret those. I was happy. Like, I learned a lot from that experience, and I think my perspective now wouldn't be this if I didn't have to go through that. And I'm happy with my perspective now, because I appreciate, like, I don't think I'll be this frugal if I didn't go through that stage. So yeah, there's nothing that I want to change. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for that wonderful question. Okay,
would you would you go back through time and change something as well? Would you?
no. I'm really happy, just like you. I'm really happy with the kind of person that I am right now. And with all the struggles, with all the changes, with it actually made me who I am right now. And I'm not gonna be doing this podcast if not for those changes that happened to me. So going back to you because you're the star of this session. Okay. To close this session, could you share a list of tips on how people could change for the better? Because we're talking about change, change, change. But there are people out there who want to change, but they don't know how. And they want to have a reference or a guide so that they could know if the change that they want to do in their life is for the better or not.
We actually mentioned some of them already earlier. One is to set your goal, because of course you won't know what you want to achieve unless you put it out there, like, this is my goal. And then once you set that goal, it's important to know your why. Why do you want to achieve that goal? Is it for yourself? Is it for other people? So it's really important to know the goal and why you want that, because when I mentioned earlier, when things get hard, you're gonna go back to that why. So it's really important to have a foundation of why you want to change. And there, you also need to be reminded that there's a difference between wanting to change and deciding to change. Like, wanting to change is like you're just sitting there and in your sofa telling yourself, oh, I want to travel the world. But deciding to change is going out there searching for the best destination you want to go. That's deciding to change, and booking the ticket you want to take just to go to that destination that you want. That's deciding to change.
Yeah, it's a
And
combination of action as well. Action and then your plans. Because as you've mentioned, yeah, if you're just sitting there and then thinking of making changes, but you're doing nothing, it's not
yeah,
gonna work. That's for sure.
I think some people, they're waiting for motivation, but I read somewhere that motivation sometimes precedes action. So you really need to act first before you get motivated to continue doing that thing. So it's, yeah, just don't worry about. I think most people are scared of failure or pain. Well, I think maybe because other people have the privilege to fail. Like, I believe other rich people have more, like, they have a safety net to fail. Personally, I there's something I want to achieve that I can't because of financial issues, right? But I think that if you want that thing so bad, you're really gonna work hard to be able to achieve that. So just keep going.
But I actually got your point that, some people have the capability or the capacity to have some failures because they're rich, because they're wealthy, because they have the safety net. We're all given 24 hours a day. If you really want to make some changes in your life, use the 24 hours wisely.
I also I watched this movie titled The Founder. It's about the McDonald's story. Yeah, there's this line there that says, "A man is what he thinks about 24 hours or like 24/7." So really, if you want that thing, you're gonna keep on working for that thing. I believe that as long as you're that dedicated and you really want that thing, you're really gonna work towards that thing. We may be behind, but we're in a different race. Everyone's in a different race. So we don't need to compare our starting lines. That actually leads me to the to my next tip on change. Like becoming like you need to define if that better, like because better is subjective, right? What's better for me
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean it's also better for you. So you really, we don't have to compare. You really need to know if that better is better for you. So that's one of my tips to change for the better. So let's not compare.
I want to be friends with you. I don't like Kyle anymore. No, I was just kidding. But
Who's
Kyle,
Kyle?
I'm gonna unfriend him right after this call. Are there people, books, authors, movies that really inspire you to do these changes? Kasi super dami ng changes that happen to you eh.
Honestly, it's my partner, it's Kyle, who's really the biggest trigger for, or like he's my core support system right now because we talk every day and he knows, like he's probably the person who knows me best today. So it helps me that I have him as an accountability partner because when you like he also sometimes kasi we don't see ourselves 360 degrees. Like
Yeah.
sometimes other people have insights about us that we don't see. So it's nice to have that someone monitor. Kasi as someone who's hard on herself nga, I need someone to confirm, who's honest with me, to tell me the truth. It's nice to have or to surround yourself with people who are gonna support you and who's gonna help you reach your goal. So yeah, that's Kyle.
And
He's
if
really
and if you want to know Kyle, please listen to episode 2 of Wise and Curious because that's what he wants. Like
Please also follow him at Instagram.
but really, Kyle is a good man.
Yeah.
I could attest to that. Thank you very much, Ina, for being our guest for today. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to have an amazing conversation with you. The words of wisdom, wow, that's really amazing. Please stay safe as always, and I'm hoping to meet you soon with Kyle, of course. Yeah. Again, this is Jella of the Wise and the Curious podcast, where the prudent meets the eager.